Good morning, Signature.
Good morning.
Welcome to the sales meeting for December 1st, 2020. 31 days left in the year.
December 1st already?
Well,
It's crazy,
technically
right?
30, right? It's,
Yeah,
Is there?
it depends on how you count.
Well,
Is today
it's
day one
holidays.
or is tomorrow day
And
one?
what about
It's only
holidays?
9:30.
well, based on the way due diligence is calculated, I think it starts tomorrow.
Right, so,
It's the day following. So we have every single broker manager here today.
except for,
Vonda.
yep, there you go.
Hi, Vonda.
She's here. She's
tagging
in a
in?
different capacity.
Yes.
Yes.
She's on the
She's
World Wide Web.
always here.
So, hey, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Chris and Aaron Patrick and congrats on their brand new baby girl. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Jameson.
You'll never sleep again for a while.
It's the best non-sleep you'll ever
You
have.
always turn everything negative.
I know.
But it's worth it.
Anyway, no, that's awesome. That was awesome news to wake up to. I saw that on
Yeah.
Facebook this morning.
Yeah.
But speaking of 30 or 31 days left in the year, now's the time we're working on our business planning.
Yep.
We had a business planning breakfast that you guys all missed.
It was excellent.
Wasn't even
I'm
invited.
so full.
You paid for it. No, we postponed it due to some of the governor's restrictions and stuff, and we made it into a virtual event, which we've broken up into 3 classes. We'll teach one this week, one next week, and one the week after.
Are you going to explain which classes we're going to teach?
Yes, we will.
Okay, cool.
So Thursday at 1 o'clock, there's a Zoom link for a webinar that's been sent out, or it's in the agent's signature, and we'll send it out through email. And that'll be class number 1. So it'll be interactive. I'll be going through it and going through some exercises with everyone, talking about where you are now currently and where you want to go over the next year. And
More like
really
vision
put some
planning,
thought.
right?
And,
Yeah.
and there's some pre-work that needs to be done.
Well,
Right.
there is a link. You can go ahead and actually fill out some forms and kind of go through that ahead of time, so you put some thought into it. And if you put some thought into what your true goals or what you want next year are, you're going to get a lot more out of this than trying to wing it during the course.
And we also recorded these so that you'll be able to go through them again and again and again just to have a little...
Here's the thing.
Just the gift that keeps giving. That's all I can say.
Here's the thing. You'll be able to watch it,
Yeah.
but this is going to be a really interactive thing. At least in class 1, you're going to want to attend it if you
Yeah.
can live, because it's going to help you. We're going to ask some tough questions to help you really dig in to find out what you truly want over the next year. Because if you're like me, sometimes I have a hard time figuring out exactly what I want. And we can't go into the next steps of the business plan until you really know where you want to get to. And then, so week 2 will be followed up by Todd.
So I'll teach week 2. So let me just ask, yours is very interactive. People are going to be able to ask questions. Your questions will get answered immediately. I mean, there are some pre-recorded parts of it, but you're going to be able to ask questions and get answers to your questions right there.
Yep.
And then week 2, which will be Wednesday, the next Wednesday, the 9th, at 1 p.m., it will be also filmed live, and you'll be able to ask questions, and it's all going to be about your numbers. It's going to be, I mean, we're going to take that number, your financial goal, like you're going to set lots of goals, right? I mean, there's going to be lots of things that you're going to think about for next year, but ultimately, we're going to talk about your financial goal. How much money do you want to make? And we're going to break that all the way down from how much money you want to make to literally how many real estate conversations you need to have on a daily basis in a 50-week year. Like, I think everyone needs 2 weeks vacation a year, and so we're going to do the numbers based on 50 weeks, and it's not a leap year, so we don't have that extra day of next year, so it'll just be a straight 50 weeks.
So kind of a blueprint.
Yeah.
The plan to you set your goal, now you're going to build the plan to kind of get there.
Yep, and you're going to know how many conversations you need to have on a daily basis to make that happen.
So you'll know exactly what's required to achieve that, so that you know, then you can ask yourself if you're willing to do what's required to achieve that. And then week 3.
And then the third class is the best. I mean, we just gotta say it right up front.
We
but-
always save the best for last.
Best for last.
Of course.
So it's interesting because vision is really important for great planning. Great planning requires that you monetize it and understand the numbers. And then it's a question of streams of business. And so day 3 will be all about your business streams and how to create avenues to generate the contacts that you need to get, because you're going to tell them how many they need, and we're going to show them how to get there. And so
where to go get them at.
exactly, your database, whether it's I always like to say the hunting or farming activity, business today and business every day. And so we're going to show you how to generate that. It's going to be on the 16th. And so probably that group will be somewhat pre-recorded too, but there'll be a lot of handout pieces that you'll have to be able to progress
Work
that
through them.
forward, so.
So this coming Thursday,
How
1
long?
o'clock.
2
is
days from now.
This Thursday will be about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
plan.
think they're all about the same amount of time.
Yeah, hour and a half on mine. So Thursday, Wednesday, right?
Yep.
So think of that in your calendar, Thursday, Wednesday. And I mean, you gotta be there, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you're
Yeah.
serious about your business, you gotta be there. There's
And-
just no other reason.
Let me just say one thing about business planning. It's like the roadmap of your real estate career. If you're just waking up every single morning and hoping that the phone rings, you're not gonna do well. But if you wake up every morning knowing that you have to do these tasks to become this wealthy, then you know what your purpose is. Too many real estate agents just come to the office and go, I'm gonna have some coffee. Well, hey, what's happening, Joe? What's going on, man?
He
You know,
made
it's
Joe the
been-
joke with the coffee, I get it. But you're right, I mean, a lot of people come in and they have nothing to do.
You need
So-
to know
Well,
where
no,
you're going
let's
and how
be
to get
clear
there.
though, let's be honest. It isn't necessarily they don't want to do something.
Sometimes
It's they
they
just
don't
really
know.
don't
Don't
know
know.
what to do. Honestly, they don't know what to do. They don't know what's, and guys, we're gonna talk about things that have been successful for years. Like, we're not reinventing the wheel in 2020. We're just gonna teach you the things that have worked year over year over year, and these are the things that you need to do, right? So,
And
so
there's a
jump in.
reason why the people that were successful during COVID, during this whole pandemic, is because they already had a roadmap and they followed it and they got to where they needed to be. Those that didn't were like going, oh, I'm gonna sit in Netflix and binge watch all day. You know, that's the
That was
difference.
my-
I saw that show.
Netflix.
No, but seriously, and maybe the roadmap changed during the pandemic, but at least they knew where they wanted to
Yeah.
get to, so they could make the adjustments.
Yeah.
And part of this is building the plan so that you can make the adjustments to go through the year. So I'm excited about it. I hope you guys will join us for all 3 sessions. At least start off with mine and see where it goes.
Because, look, your life in real estate does not change because it went from 2020 to 2021. There is no special thing that happens on January 1st. It's still the same.
Hey, there was a party that night, I know, I've been there.
Some special things do happen on that day, just
But yeah,
so
I mean-
we're gonna hope that our series, our three episode series, doesn't get canceled after the first one. Right? And we get to the second one. No, we will, actually. It's gonna be good. I was super excited for the whole breakfast thing. I'm gonna be honest, like,
Yeah.
not because there was breakfast, but that's a bonus. But I love business planning. I think knowing
Yeah.
your numbers is important. And I think breaking it into 3 different things like this is just gonna be it's gonna be even better, because each one of them is gonna be more specialized and gonna be more on point about what we're talking about. So-
You have stuff to work on before the next one so
Yeah.
that you can really grow on it.
One extra piece I have to mention is that if you're in our coaching program, not only are you gonna get these business planning series, but your coach is also gonna spend some time with you going over your business plan and how it affects your business directly. So if you want more information about coaching, reach out.
And how to keep on track.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
people just go off track.
Accountability.
With that said, I mean, everybody in Signature that owns a team, that runs a team, that has agents that work for them, like, this is a must watch,
Yeah.
because what we're gonna do in these 3 classes are exactly what you should be doing with every single one of the
Yep.
agents on your team. And if you're not doing that, you're setting yourself up and them up to fail. So let's set them up to win, and sit down and do this same exact business planning with all of your team members.
And if you don't want to do it with your team, encourage them to be on it with us.
Yep. Sure.
And get the information so you can help them through it, so.
And so
Very
to me, here's the great thing, you don't have just one person pontificating for 4 hours. You have
Chris.
a variety of personalities.
I'm not a
So
pontiff.
If you don't get anything from Todd because he's pontificating for 3 hours, then maybe you'll get something when you watch Chris's class.
See?
So
Probably
it's
not.
all gonna be changed up.
Look,
So that the variety is the spice of life.
I don't know what's going on here, but pontificating,
Those are big words.
he's got a jacket on today, something's.
We knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, this is weird,
All right, so let's move past that. Again, if you need anything, reach out or need information on it. You don't receive the link, reach out to the administrator in your office and they'll make sure you get signed up. So with that, what's going on with prosperity lending?
So we're pontificating over, I just love that word, Janet, that's
I
gonna be
couldn't
my
spell
word
it.
of the month.
The word of the day.
The word of the day. So you saw last week I shared that loan amounts for conforming loan amounts have increased. So as you are business planning, add that into your plan as well. A lot of our jumbo clients now have a little bit less money they could put down or perhaps get into the conforming range. The new conforming limit is $548,250, so with a minimum 5% down, that's a sales price of $577. So for all of our jumbo clients, I've seen several that are like, how can I put a 5% down payment? You can probably get close to that now at the 577 range. And then also soon to come out is going to be FHA as well. More than likely, last year they went from 345, they were at 321 to 345, so we'll probably see another blip up another 20,000. So be on the lookout for that. That usually is around the corner really in the next couple of weeks. But I really wanted to share that information as far as increase in loan amounts. And then one other thing, I've got a lot of calls from agents asking about derogatories, so meaning foreclosures. How fast can a client come in after a foreclosure, after a short sale, after a deed in lieu, after a bankruptcy? I'm gonna post or provide a flyer that'll give you the information. So please reach out to one of us at Prosperity Lending or get the link from us directly and I can share the information so that you have that as a resource for you. Because I feel like right now with things changing, that might be a topic that a lot of your clients may be asking, whether it's bankruptcy, short sale, foreclosure, forbearance. But ask one of our Prosperity Lending loan officers for that information.
What was the FHA loan limit back in '05? Was it 417?
It was like 400,000.
Yeah. And it was matching. It was like 417 for FHA, 417 for VA, and then they all dropped to like 268.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like overnight. And I think we all thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to do loans here in Las Vegas?
Many people don't know that they change. I mean,
Every year.
I didn't know they changed till they did. You know, I was like,
Well, it went from
Every-
417 to 298. You
Yeah,
were like, wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
But to think you could buy an entry-level home for 417, but back east it's like 900 in New York, but you can't find anything for 900.
Yeah, well, same thing like in San Diego County, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Southern California,
Yeah.
their limits are like double ours almost, right? So because the price of housing there is double.
Well, it's something else too for FHA. If you're buying a multiplex or 1 to 4 unit, that number at 345 today, you get for a 4 unit, you can get them to the 645,000, I think it is, for a purchase price or a loan amount.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know how many of those are here, but that is definitely something that we see a higher FHA loan limit on.
That's
is a
interesting.
multiplex.
I didn't even think about that, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. We should build some fourplexes.
Right?
There
Let's
aren't
do
any.
it.
Right?
There aren't any that
In
are.
a part of town people want to live in.
But you know, people
30
come
or
from
40
California and
years
think that we
old.
have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all 30 or 40 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
Let's go through your list.
I got a lot of
else
topics
you
that
got?
came up. So this is a good one to Shelley to get your opinion on. We had an agent that posted on Agents of Signature that they had an agent who refused to give them a pre-qualification or a proof of funds.
So our agent was the listing agent.
Listing agent.
And some agent buyer wrote an offer
Yep.
and did not send over.
They refused to send over any type of proof or prominence, isn't that what they call it? That the buyer has the ability to qualify to purchase the property. Now, their reasoning, and this was put in the post, is that they've been in the business for 17 years and they've never had to do that before. So,
And one of my houses,
First deal.
first deal, yeah. I
17 years.
17 years
He
they've
joined
been
our
to do
apprentice
it.
program.
mean, so I take two things from this. I can tell you many times I've come across an agent that says, well, I've been in the business for 30 years.
Awesome.
Right? My first response is, thank God I got to you before you retired, right? Because it just makes no sense. And I think that the other piece in the contract, it says that you will go through the process of getting approved or filling out a loan application with the lender. And a lot of agents will put a date in there, like 2 days, 3 days. Some will put done, because it does fit, D-O-N-E, meaning that I've already filled out an application with my lender and they've already gone through the process. But this tells you agents don't read the contract. Right? Why is it so hard to give an approval letter?
I
If
issue
your
them out like
client's not-
candies.
If your client's not approved,
You get an approval letter and you get an approval letter. You get an
And let's face it, some approval, not all approval letters
Are the
are
same.
That is
equal,
very
right?
true, yeah.
Some approval letters are like toilet paper.
Yeah, so I mean, I can see where someone say, well, we don't really need one, but you need one, whether it's, full of baloney
Yeah.
or a truthful.
Well, wait, so let me just ask. So the contract says that the buyer has agreed to fill out a application within X amount of days. But I don't recall that paragraph saying that they would be issuing any kind of approval letter.
Well, that's the funny part about it, because when I fill out an application, what do you have to give me in return?
A credit decision in 30
Right?
days, yeah.
So that means that she's actually going to give me one saying that you've been approved for your loan with these conditions, or you've been denied for your loan
Well,
with
and
these issues.
And I hear you, but the contract doesn't say that you're required to give that to the other side.
I actually think it does.
It
I
does
think
not
there's
say
wording
that.
in there in
Let
bold
me-
that says
let me
that.
ask you
Vonda,
this
can you
Producer
check that
Hammer's
out?
about to come in.
Let me ask you this question though. Why the heck would you put them in your car if you don't have a
Yeah.
If they're not
100%.
qualified to buy, you don't know what they can buy.
right?
Because she's been doing it for 17
So-
years, so she.
She could
knows.
tell, she could see
Tell her
people
what they-
walking down the road, that guy can buy right there. I'm gonna go get that. No, let me just say, I mean, I'm pointing out that I don't think that it says that in the contract, and I could be totally wrong, because I am quite often, but the bottom line is, our job as agents is to help our clients achieve their goal of buying a home. And so if a seller is asking for an approval letter, why wouldn't you, as Brandon's pointed out, you have to have one because you didn't put them in your car
Yeah.
without one. Why wouldn't you send it over? It just doesn't make sense.
So
to me.
let's go down 3 pieces of this, because this is important. Number one, a pre-qual. What's the difference between a pre-qual, pre-qualification, and a pre-approval?
Well, one's a Word document and one's PDF. The PDF they sent you can't alter, but the Word document.
With the right software.
Wait, PDFs are edible. You can edit a PDF nowadays.
That was
Really?
No, you can't. And no whiteout either.
We went off the rails on that one, but
No, a pre-qual is that they've caught their loan officer at the kids' soccer game on Saturday morning, and they had a 2 or 3 minute conversation, and they said, yeah, you probably qualify.
did you say that's right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I'm not
been
at a
that
soccer
way.
game, I'm usually at a gymnastics meet, but it is,
Call it-
it is.
So it's just
like,
basic
You're
information.
Yeah.
pre-qualified based on what you told me. If it's
Right.
all true,
Correct.
then you're qualified for
Yes.
that.
usually no credits
But I haven't
pulled.
verified anything.
Here's
That's
a
right.
letter.
That's right.
And now a pre-approval means that you've actually run an application.
I see.
You've seen their financials of some sort. They've proven that they have a job, that
You
those things
you
are there.
pull credit.
Full credit,
Yeah.
yeah, you run it through our automated underwriting system and you get.
And it comes with conditions.
It usually does, yeah.
Now, we've heard that there's a third letter that's like gold, where it's like an underwriter approval.
Yeah, so that process is a little bit longer. You're gonna, because in underwriting turn time is usually, 3 to 5 business days, but same thing from a pre-approval, you literally take it in and the underwriter gives it the stamp of approval.
Do
But
they,
I've been
like, use a
doing
magnifying
loans
glass?
for 17 years, so I know.
But here's what amazes me, is in these times of competition, of trying to find a house and be able to
Yes.
purchase it, and all these love letters and stuff that everybody was putting out, why wouldn't you provide the most?
It's the only love letter you can have.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I love this house so much, I can actually buy it. And here's my letter that proves
But
it.
here's the thing, okay, take it back to this. An offer comes in, it doesn't have it, you've asked for it, right? They don't want to provide it.
Yeah.
You give that information to your seller, and
And
your
they make the
seller
decision.
makes your decision
Yeah.
if they want to move forward or not, understanding the pros and cons of that or the consequences.
So I've been asked the question many times, is that my seller asks that their lender, who they're close with, look at the financials of the buyer. The seller asking for that to happen is allowable, but I can't require that they use that lender, right? But I have a problem with an agent. The agent standing up in front of it without the seller's permission, putting those conditions on things because it wasn't in writing from your seller. So you need to make sure that that happens, that your seller understands why having the buyer approved for a loan to buy their home is a good idea. Now, here's a scam that's going on. A lot of people falsify approval letters.
What?
Believe it or not. And so you as the listing agent should be calling the lender to make sure that it's a valid letter from a valid buyer that makes sense because you're protecting your client. I've also seen, believe it or not, cash proof of funds that were false. I got one for $8 billion
$8 billion.
in a Wells Fargo checking account.
Wow.
Okay, here's a sign.
They couldn't
Someone
count
added
zeros.
a zero.
$8 billion. It literally said it, on the thing, and it just went on for zeros, like it looked completely real. But no one's gonna put $8 billion in one checking account, okay? It's just, it never.
0.0001.
Yeah, 0.001%.
Don't keep your gold all in one account.
Well,
Diversify.
so the point is, get an approval letter, make sure your buyer's well qualified,
All right.
and make sure you're protecting your
So
client.
Todd, you are wrong. Rhonda came back. She said top of page 2 states, a pre-approval will be provided within blank number of days. So,
Bam!
Provided.
Like Harry
Why
Potter.
not submit it with the offer?
no, it doesn't have to be submitted with the
No.
offer, but why wouldn't you submit with the offer?
But that's when you
especially
put
if you're-
done.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But still,
But you still want to
so-
provide it.
So the number that we're putting on the top of page 2 is the number of days before they'll provide a pre-approval
Yes.
letter?
Because you've had people come
Did
to
they
town.
change that? Because I know that said to fill out an application.
Well,
Same thing.
it's to apply and
And get a
Proven.
Application.
But you've had people come to town that aren't what they weren't looking to buy, and you convince them to buy, and now they have to go through this process. That's why it was originally there. But here's what's funny. Done is 4 letters. So does that mean I could put 1,000 days? I mean,
You could-
why is it that big?
You can put 999, you can
you
put
can put whatever,
10,000
you
days.
can put whatever you want in there, but again, it's a
I'm just pointing it
negotiating
out.
point, right?
All right, so we have some other really good topics that are on here. I know because I wrote them down. So we've had a series of transactions where the properties didn't appraise, and now we're having a series of transactions where the property appraised for more. And so what do you do in the instance when your home, your property, you're the buyer's agent, and you get the notice from the lender that the appraisal's in, because you call them and ask, and it shows up and it's for more than the contract price?
You let the other agent know it came in at value.
Yeah.
We have value.
We have,
Well,
the appraisal came back, it's okay. We can
but it
go
didn't come
forward.
in at value.
We came in.
Well,
We have value.
Yeah.
the appraisal came in and we're good to move forward.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
all you say.
The appraisal came in. The lenders notified me the property appraised, right? Without condition.
But the listing agent goes, well, how much was it?
I'm sorry, the appraisal doesn't belong to me as the buyer's agent. It belongs to the buyer. I don't have their permission to release anything,
You
right?
know, that's a great question. I can look into that for you.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you want to tell them if it came in higher?
Well, because some of the concern is that
They
the
wanna blow
property.
up the deal.
Yeah.
I know why.
The seller now thinks their home is
Done.
worth more money, but it's imaginary money because no one offered them that money,
But
right?
it also changes the fact that your negotiating position anywhere else through that transaction, because now the seller thinks that they're giving you X
Correct.
number of
Yeah.
Yeah, I
extra
mean,
dollars.
think about trying to negotiate repairs and they already know that it's appraised for $3,000 more and you're asking for $1,000 worth of repairs. They're just gonna be like, no.
Or you come
You
down,
have no negotiating power.
you come down
Exactly.
one extension, they go, no, I can get $5,000.
Yeah, I can agree
Now,
with
the other question is, the appraiser, just like a home inspector, looks for condition issues in the property, and most appraisers, I mean, on an FHA loan, there's a book that's 213 pages long of all of the condition items that.
He made that number.
No, I'm absolutely serious. I think it's 213 or 244, because we were in a class about
Kind of a
it.
little bit of a difference.
It's a huge book, and it
200
has,
and some odd pages.
yeah, it has all of the
Depends if you're
things.
reading it digitally on your iPhone or your iPad.
Oh, wait.
Samsung.
I've got an hour. It's all the things that they have to do to certify the loan for value. And so I've had the appraiser come back and say, we don't need any repairs, but the home inspection has, 30 item summary.
Yeah.
And so that's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, I just have been, my whole career, just been against giving the listing side the appraisal unless
Doesn't appraise.
it doesn't appraise.
Now that's in the
Then
contract.
I'm running over, handing it to them nicely, right?
So that clause for the appraisal and that clause for the home inspection both sit in the contract that if you go back and say, I want repairs or I want you to lower value to meet the appraisal, then you would have to provide them with a copy.
Correct.
Because it's contractual.
Yes.
That's in bold print too. What else do you have to add to that? Because people are dealing with it right now.
No, I think the advice we give our clients is let's not share it unless we
Yeah.
absolutely for some reason have
Written
to.
permission from the client to
Yeah.
do so.
Even in the case when they're low, we still get the permission from the client to share the information to the agent.
And
Usually goes to
which is
buyers.
good, but they've already agreed to it in the purchase agreement
Yeah.
too. So you are covered, but yes, always ask, it's a good thing, so.
Yeah.
And you don't want to give the other side reason to blow up the deal.
Yeah, right?
Through, from the whole period of your escrow. I mean, let's face it, our job is to keep these transactions together in an ethical and proper manner. And, don't
I know, right?
throw
This is great
landmines
Now
as
we
you're
know why he's
walking.
here.
And you don't throw landmines on why, you're gonna blow up your own self and your own.
But
deal.
Tom, my home is now worth more. I want you to pay that difference to me as the seller.
My home appraised for $5,000 more.
He's like,
No,
you're crazy.
I've actually
But that's
seen
what
it.
sellers say.
I've seen addendums come over that say
Yep.
sales price to be, and it's whatever the appraised value is because they know that it came in above
Yes.
appraisal value.
But they're already contracted is the point that they've already said, we'll take this for our house. And the seller, unlike the buyer, has no exit from the contract unless a buyer blows a close date.
Yeah,
Right.
or a contingency. or-
Yeah, and that's when now you're really putting yourself to the fire if you're the buyer's agent to make sure that every single date is done
Yep.
in time because one step sideways
Yep.
and it goes kaboom.
And it's
Yeah.
going back on the market so they can make the extra
Yeah.
$8,000.
So here's another side to this, and this is happening right now too. Properties are hot, there's very few of them, and there's a lot of buyers in the marketplace. And so this property now has multiple offers, and someone has said, I want to be a backup, right? Now, the commission is arguing that there's no such thing as a backup offer, because you can't accept two offers on the same house. You can in Utah. But they're saying, they're excited enough to buy the home that they'll do anything. They'll pay whatever it is, they'll pay whatever is going there. And so you find that out, it takes away all negotiation power.
Yep.
And so that's another piece to keep in mind.
Yeah.
is- But you don't know what the other offers are.
You can accept an offer subject to the rights of the current buyer. In Utah.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing I think we should address here is a lot of people, all around us, not Nevada, are doing escalation clauses.
Yeah.
And Nevada calls them acceleration clauses, and they are illegal. That's where the buyer comes in the case of multiple offers, and say, I will pay $1,000 over your highest offer. Just be aware, yes, you can do them in Colorado, that's their whole market, but you cannot do them in Nevada because the Real Estate Commission has said it gives an unfair advantage to one of the parties.
And it has no beginning and end too. That's, state law says any contract has to have a beginning point and end point. If I give an uninterrupted price change that can go for forever, then I put that buyer at risk, and that's another thing that's concerning too.
Could I add up to X amount of dollars and make it
So,
okay?
the commissioners have said that before, that if you boxed it in, that's a parameter, right? But they do not favor any type of acceleration or escalation clause.
And
So
let's-
write your best
And
offer.
let's
So make
face
your
it,
highest
is that really the best way to
No.
help your buyer overpay potentially for a property?
Yeah, and then once they overpay, who are they pissed at?
My goal is to help my buyer buy a house that they want at what terms they agree to.
Right, is whatever that is. So
So
if
if
they're
it's
willing,
$1,000
because there's a
over all
ceiling,
the rest of
but you
them
know
up
that there's
to-
still a ceiling for that buyer.
Yeah.
You can't go $1,000 in
Because he got his approval letter
right? You know, so
at the
you
soccer
know-
game.
Well, then of course, we have the appraisal issue, right? So I mean, that, for me,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest challenges with these acceleration or,
Yep.
what else did you call it?
Escalation.
Escalation clause
Just don't do
is it appraisals come into
Yeah.
challenges, right? So then you get yourself into a situation where the seller says, well, you said you'd pay this, now pay it.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna give your EMD back because your appraisal
Yep.
came in $5,000 too low.
Absolutely.
And you've really put your
It's
client.
over improving on a new home. You can actually over improve a new home that you buy and it not appraise. I mean, that happens because
All the
people just
time.
go to the, oh, I want this and this and this and
That's
this.
why you gotta pay for those things yourself.
Sometimes.
That's right.
All right, we'll move on to another topic. So I did that one. So one of the questions that came on was about CE. I need to get my CE because I'm ready to renew my license at the end of this month and I've got no credits. And so how do I get CE and where do we offer it? So we have a website that we have for Signature Schools, which shows all of our internal CE, but people don't realize that the real estate division has to automatically log all CE classes that are scheduled in the state because the instructor has to then upload
What was that website again?
It's Nevada Real Estate Division.
No.
Ours is Signature School NV.
Oh,
Yeah.
signatureschoolnv.com.
Yes, that's all ours.
Signatureschoolnv.com.
But anytime an instructor is teaching CE, they have to submit that to the division ahead of time, and it's posted on their
Yep.
website, so you always can find CEs.
So what's really cool right now?
Statewide.
Statewide. So all of his classes are virtual, so
Shelley.
no matter where it's at.
Not California.
Not in California.
Statewide.
Not that statewide.
Yeah. So if you need CE, don't be afraid to take a class anywhere it's listed in the state, because it's going to be virtual in most cases.
And I just want to add to this, I don't even know this person, okay? She's from Reno, her name is Janice Koppel. She used to be, Patty's nodding her head in the audience, she knows her. She used to be a real estate commissioner. And I get emails the first of every month. She teaches like 6, 7, and most of them are the basics, contracts, agency, law, classes a month. And somebody came to me desperate for CE, and I said, I've heard good things about her. I've seen people post on her site, boy, this is the best class I've ever taken. So this agent
That was her.
No, it wasn't.
like
So one of my
yourself
agents took 2 classes from her and said, thank you so much for recommending her. Those were 2 of the most enjoyable classes I have ever taken. She's in Reno, it's Nevada, they can
So
count
does
as
she
your
have a
seat.
website?
Signature Schools NV.
Signatureschoolnv.com.
Look it up on the
Links in
real
there.
estate division's website or call me because I get an email from her every month. Unfortunately, the problem is every time I go, God, I want to take this class she's offering, I have a conflict. So I personally haven't taken it, but I've recommended her 2 agents, and they say she's
Well,
fabulous.
we've also got Vonda now that teaches a ton of CE
She's
classes.
teaching 2 this month.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I only heard that Vonda is better than her, that's the only person.
That's the only person that's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
She's a short second there. But does Vonda send you an email every month?
yes.
Yes.
No,
Whether I want it or not.
Every couple of weeks,
But-
actually.
Yeah, but she posts on
Facebook
Facebook.
But if you look at our training calendar and you
Yes.
look at the signatureschoolsnv.com, those classes are, if they're provided by us at Signature, they're free to the Signature agents. So if you need free CE, that's a good place to get it. You can pick up 1 or 2 a month through the 2-year renewal
Yeah.
process. Don't wait till the last minute to renew your license.
I'm within 9 months. I'm doing good, okay?
Hey.
So, and I just want to throw this out there too. So yesterday, all the managers got a printout of, goes through like 4 months. These are the agents in your offices whose license is getting ready to expire. And it started with November 30th, which will cause fear in your heart because I got it yesterday about 3. But there were a number of agents on that list from my office, and I'm sure the other offices too, whose license expire the end of December. And guess what?
What?
Those are agents who have not finished their post-licensing or even taken their post-licensing.
Uh-oh.
And Signature is teaching post-licensing in December. This is your last chance, if you're a new agent, to get it until February for free. So if your license expires in December, or if it expires in January,
Get her done.
you better sign up for every single one of those post-licensing classes and not miss a one. Now, I will say this. I know an agent who signed up for a contracts post-licensing class RPA, that I happen to be teaching. Well, she signed in, but she never appeared on camera. And guess what? At some point, I just want to tell you this, you're going to get plenty of breaks on our Zoom classes. Stop it, Chris. And,
I believe it.
and she signed in, and Joe is going to come on, and he's going to do a screenshot of everybody that's in that class.
Yep.
And if your face and your name are not there, guess what? You're not getting credit.
It's so funny you say that, Janet, because my dad was teaching a CE class and he's watching the camera, and this guy goes to Taco Bell while he's teaching the class. Like, he's got his camera
the
on
car.
and he goes through a drive-through.
Yeah.
And so they stop the class and wait for this guy to like get up to the drive-through, so he hands his change and the whole thing. And the entire class is now watching this, and he's doing it while on this, so they didn't give him any credit. But I mean, you know.
It's not that hard.
Was it?
Then you wonder why they've been in the business 17 years, you know?
Was it because he had Taco Bell? Were they offended by the restaurant he picked? Or?
He wasn't paying attention in class.
Let me add one thing. You know, these Zoom classes are a privilege right now, and when this COVID thing goes by the wayside, there's conversation on whether or not we're gonna be able to keep these as in-person training. And it's abuses like that
Yeah.
that get up to the division, that the division will then say, you know what, you guys aren't paying attention, so we're back stuck in a seat in person, in a classroom, and not in the confines of your living room, on your bed, or on your sofa, sitting back.
With your clothes on.
That's as far as I went. Okay? I didn't go too far.
So, yeah, they've had a few of those too. So let's switch gears, because that could go wrong way. So we had an agent
I
who
think it's
asked.
there.
Yeah, we had an agent who asked on there about buying lead systems, a system to help them, you know, get some leads into their business. And so I thought we'd get everyone's opinion. What do you think of lead systems and where they interject into your business?
Quick question, are you gonna call them?
Yeah, right?
I mean, why buy them if you're not gonna work them, right? First of all, so.
That's a good point. I mean, if you don't even know what to say to convert a lead, what's the value of getting a bunch of leads?
Nothing.
Right? Nothing. And if you have no business right now and you go and buy business, is that really sustainable?
It's really sad because when I first started 17 years ago, actually
Yeah.
a little bit longer, my broker gave me a book of leads.
Yeah.
It was called
Phone book?
Phone Book.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there was a lot of gold in there.
Pick a letter, any letter. What
Didn't
letter do
even
you want to
cost
call
me
today?
anything. I
Just
don't know
rip
if
out a
they-
sheet?
I don't know if they give them to you anymore, but that's one place.
And here's the thing. through the MLS with like Remind,
Yeah.
for example, you can filter out a section of homes to find out who's been there for more than 5 years. What's their level of their mortgage? What's, the likelihood, and you can pretty much guesstimate, and that's what most of these lead companies do. They guesstimate which properties are gonna move, and they send them out to everybody and say, "Oh, pay me a whole bunch of money."
Yeah.
When you can do it yourself on Remind by just knowing how to filter out the right properties in the area that you're looking for and call those people. I mean, it's just insanity to pay somebody else. I mean, how lazy do you really need to be? And how, I'm gonna get a little real.
He's getting passionate right
Yeah.
now.
Do you really
Another pen's gonna pop
I
up.
know, I know, my main point. Do you really wanna be in real estate if you're not willing to do the work
Yeah.
to be successful? And buying somebody else's lead that basically did something that you can do, to me, is just freaking crazy.
So I would say, I would be for diversifying your business, putting in some lead
Yep.
sources that are passive, invest some money back into it, but make sure you're gonna work those things.
I agree.
But have a balanced and diversified business.
I love Tom Ferry's statement, marketing is math. And so if the math pencils, meaning that if you're successful in your business, you have transactions coming in, you're sending Shelly at least 1 or 2 deals a month, they're closing, and you have a good source of your business and you're able to streamline it, then adding more business in that you can work makes sense if it pencils. Meaning that if it costs me $6,000 for the entire system for a year, same thing we do in farming, and I get one deal from it that pays me $18,000, I made 12 grand. That pencils and makes sense.
Yeah.
But to start spending $3,000 a month when I have 0 coming in on a lead system makes no sense at all, and you'll go broke and out of business.
The other thing is though, make sure that you understand the type of lead that it is.
Yep.
And the incubation period.
Absolutely.
And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy some internet leads, work them for 3 or 4 weeks, say these don't work, and then move on.
Yep.
Right? So you gotta understand the incubation process and be committed to the term of buying those leads.
So internet leads are 7 to 9 months, by the way. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that says you gotta work those for 7 to 9 months before you can really get a return on your money, sorry.
That's okay, I just want to say, Tom talked about Remind, and he's right, where you can filter down, okay, show me everybody in this subdivision who's been in their house for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
Or everybody in this subdivision whose mortgage is paid off. The board is just in the process of renegotiating a new contract with Remind because we've had a low rate of adoption, and part of that's had to do with, we started with them in January and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
But part of the contract is they're going to be teaching more and more and more classes for us on how to get this information and this data so you can really filter your own leads to whatever you want.
So we're not saying you could never do it or you should never do it. We're just saying make smart business decisions and
Well-
make sure that it makes sense for your business.
Why buy the milk when it's free?
When you get the
Come
cow
on.
for free?
So anyway,
Just do the work.
I'm not a
Why
farmer.
buy the milk when there's pigeons? I mean,
So the bottom line is, it's not good or bad, right? It's about how you use it in your
Yeah.
business.
yeah.
I can show you tons and tons of people out there that buy leads, and they're successful doing it.
Sure, yeah.
And I can show you just as many people who are now working other jobs besides real estate because they bought a bunch of leads. They spent every penny they had,
Yeah.
and they didn't know how to work them.
Wasn't sustainable. yeah.
So you gotta be in a position where you know how to work those leads, no matter what kind of leads they are. Like, you get really good at working open house leads because you do open houses and you learn the follow-up process. You learn what to say, how to say it, when to say it. It's no different with internet leads. You have to have a system. And again, 7 to 9 months is the normal period of time for them to turn into a lead that's thinking about actually buying or selling. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't do it or do it. I'm saying hold your money accountable. So if you're gonna spend X amount of dollars a month, you need to know how many leads came in from that, how many leads you converted to a customer,
Yeah.
not even a client yet, how many you convert to a client by getting a signed buyer broker agreement or a signed listing agreement, and then how much money did you make? And over time, you'll figure out whether or not It makes
It's working.
sense. It's gotta, but it has.
Got a pencil.
It's
Got a
got a
pencil.
pencil. Hold your money accountable.
And Tom's right. I mean, you can do it right now for free if you're willing to put in sweat equity, meaning you're gonna do the hard work
What
of
else are they
getting your
doing?
business. Yeah, what else are
You're
you
sitting
doing?
around waiting for the phone to ring, you know?
Make it ring.
You know, either pick it up and call somebody or.
Before you go to the next point, a couple things on here. First, there was one question, it just says, Chris, how long have you been in the business?
I've actually been in 16 years.
Not quite 17. And then.
I haven't retired yet.
Then Andrew asks, for CE, do we need 24 or 36 hours now?
It's still 24.
Still 24.
However,
Next
the
year.
real estate commission, not the real estate commission, but the legislative section that makes that decision on what we are required by law to take is meeting December 20th, so stay tuned.
It'll go up.
Yeah.
It's going up
It's
to
already slated.
36.
It's already,
36.
it was approved, it was.
It's
it
going
was
up.
Just when it's going to
So
happen.
if I've already done my 24 and my license renews next year, do I get to do 12 more?
Well,
That's the
it's-
argument right now.
It hasn't been decided yet,
That's the
so
difference.
stay tuned.
That's the dilemma.
That's
But
the,
if it
You
goes,
renew
Maybe-
every 2 years?
Maybe Janet can loan you some of hers.
I
Yeah.
have a lot.
Hey, it's not a
I'm
bad
going to
idea.
sell.
It's not a bad idea to take more CE because if you're doing designations or things like that, those are great sources to get classes and you get value from.
and what else are you doing besides sitting around waiting for your phone to ring?
And I will just tell you, if COVID hadn't come in, the 36-hour rule would already be in place.
Yeah.
All right, and so here's another thing, wanted to put on here, your quadrennial training classes due at the end of next year, so end of 2021. That is an agreement that you have or with NAR.
Realtor requirement.
Right, you basically go back through the code of ethics training again. And so that can also be, and there's some online courses put out by NAR, that can also be your ethics CE.
Yep.
So make sure if you're doing that it it's CE approved as well.
Many of the ethics classes are cross accredited.
So you can kill two birds
Do
with
you
a
know
stone.
that board service in some ways qualifies you for code of ethics training?
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Professional
Get
standards
something right.
training
Yeah.
and your
Grievance committee.
grievance training.
That's good.
So if
Pays to serve.
I don't have to do ethics training if I've done that training?
As long as they've given you
If you did
credit
it this
on your
year. Give you credit?
Yeah.
Well, I was there, they better give me credit.
You
By
better
the way,
not-
it's a longer
Or you're
class.
at Taco Bell.
I was there too, and then I got a thing that says, hey, are you gonna attend the makeup one since you weren't there? I'm like, I was there.
You were there.
Go back to
actually,
the
I
film,
remember.
yep, so.
So-
Anyway, yeah, double check that stuff.
Any other questions from the?
So, by the way, the company's been sending, anybody who hasn't satisfied their quadrennial
Yep.
to this point, we have sent you an email that says, send us a copy of your ethics certificate. We'll get that over to LBR for you and see if yours qualifies or not. So
Yeah.
if you've gotten that email, that's what that was about. And if you'll just send us the email back with a copy of your certificate, we'll send it in for you and try to get that
Well,
resolved.
here's
for you.
another great way to know, and Linda Stewart just posted this here. If you sign into your page on
I was about to say
LBR,
that.
it'll
It'll
actually
tell
tell
you.
you if you've satisfied that or not, so.
Yeah.
But don't wait till the last minute, it can
And
be costly.
I just want to say this, years ago, it was quadrennial ethics training, and then it went to biennial ethics training, but there were so many rural areas that complained about the biennial ethics training because they couldn't get the instructors in that would qualify, that they changed it to triennial. And actually, right now, we are in triennial.
So,
Serious?
Just get the training done.
So from
Whatever you
4
wanna
to 2
call
to
it.
3.
Buy, try, quad, get the training
by
done,
the end
be
of
done with it.
by the end of 2021, you've taken it, and then you're good for 3 more years. Unless they change it
Unless they
to.
change it again at our next board meeting.
Oh,
We're
no,
going,
yeah.
we're going to go to OC training.
You never know.
All right, so what's next?
So my last topic, and I think it's a great
Are we
one.
over time?
No,
we got time.
no.
We have
it-
15 minutes.
So on one of the posts on the Agents of Signature, they asked about transaction fees or our back fee, broker additional commission fee, and how to explain it and sell it and promote it and use it and do it and all the other things that surround it. So let's talk about that for a minute because we've all been practitioners. And how do you explain it?
So a couple things. First off is we have a lot of people that collect the B.A.C, the transaction fee, whatever you call it, and do not have anything signed by that buyer stating that they're willing to pay it. And so we ask you to either have an invoice that's
Yep.
created, there's one in transaction desk, or the buyer agency agreement has a place for it. And if it's in there, then it's great. And so we've been asking, and this is kind of embarrassing for a lot of people, in order to close out your file, because that's one of the required documents, is to go back and get that signed. Well, how hard is that to go back and tell your seller, or your buyer, it would be your buyer, because your seller, you should have that in your listing agreement.
right.
Your buyer that, I'm sorry, I charged you X number of dollars, and I didn't have an invoice for it, and so I need you to sign this. I mean, that puts you in a pretty bad position.
It does.
And so, I mean, we're looking at it going, the reason we want this required in a file is because I don't want somebody sitting at a closing table, about to close on their house, and oh, surprise, here's another fee.
Yeah.
You know, that looks bad on us as an industry in that. Plus, in light of the NAR and DOJ settlement, there's going to be some changes there as well. So I think it's important that you have that discussion. I mean, our other option would be just to send the money back to the buyer because they never agreed to pay it in the first place.
Janet says no refunds.
No refund. And so what
That's
we're,
an LVR.
what we're asking is that you just actually have that conversation with your buyer before you charge them that, right?
As should all fees be discussed
Right?
up front.
And so that brings us to the point where how do you sell that or how do you do that to your thing?
Well-
But I can tell you how not to do it. Do not tell them that this is what the broker charges to store your documents for 5 years. Because there is no hard cost to that, 7 years.
7 years.
Whatever you're telling them, that's not what it is. If
changed
you're
it.
going to break it down into
Changed it too
fees,
much.
if you're gonna break it down into fees, then there better be a true cost for
Yes.
those fees. We call it a B.A.C, a buyer agency commission, because it's additional commission, which means you don't have to describe that it goes for this, 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 and this. It's just part of your fee. And so how would you sell that to the consumer?
Like, I think number one, that there are costs, just costs that you have, gas, food. I mean, everyone takes their client to lunch. What do you do with your clients? I take them to lunch. Do they buy any houses? No, but we sure eat a lot, right? I mean, I'm driving them around town. I had to market to get the person. I have a lead system that helps me do that. I have a transaction coordinator that I use. There are all these costs that I have that are in and above my skill as an agent, finding a home, negotiating an offer, and keeping you safe through the transaction. That's what I charge my commission for. I've always thought of it kind of like a resort fee, right? You go down to the Strip and you check into the Mirage if it's open, and it's $400 for the room, but then when you go to check out, they charge you $39 as a resort fee. What do you mean for a resort fee? What does that cover? It covers the power to the room, it covers the cleaning of the room, it covers the water safety of the towels to change them out and everything else. It's for the cost in and above the service that I'm going to provide to you, but it's still costs that I charge. And so for me, like you go to a doctor, and a doctor is going to give you a prescription, you got to go pay for the prescription. That's what you needed to feel better, but you needed their advice to get you better. That's kind of how I've always
But
associated
they're
it.
able to identify true costs
Yes.
of what that's used for. You can go down that road, but you don't have to if it's commission.
Terminology, you don't want to call
Right?
it a fee, you want to
Right.
call it
It's
commission.
commission, and so that's the thing. But you sell that to them how? I mean,
Be upfront about it. I think your point is that when I present my service and I say, listen, this is what's going to happen over the course of our experience together, and here's what I charge for it, this is our contract, and they're outlined, that's when you want to tell them, not when they're sitting at the closing table being held hostage by your fee. You guys can't do that. You have to be upfront about every fee that's there.
Well, here's the bottom line. It's a conversation that happens up front, every time, has
Yep.
to be. I mean, if you're having a hard time, quote unquote, selling this fee or charging this fee, you've got to have this conversation up front for two reasons. Number one, it's the ethical way to do it, okay? Right? You don't just arbitrarily show up at the end of a transaction with this $495 or $525 or $750 or whatever your fee is. Number two is, when you're sitting down with a buyer and you're talking about their hopes and their dreams, they're excited. And so when you have a conversation about this fee, it's an exciting thing.
Yeah.
When you get to the closing table, there's more stress than anybody wants to be in. For the agent, for the buyers, everybody is stressed out at the end. And then you throw this, oh, by the way, I have this extra fee. Look, it's never going to go well. It's never going to be a good thing. It's upfront. It's when everyone's excited about getting started with the process, and there's no selling. This is what we charge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. It's in
Will you waive
writing.
it?
It's on a document.
No.
Not
but
today.
it's the same as every other commission.
Yeah.
You fight for your commission or you put out a charge there and you sell the value, and this is part of it. But the other thing is you can't just put it on there and hope that they don't see it. That's the wrong way to
Yeah.
do it.
It asks the question in the purchase agreement for the purpose of notifying escrow that one will be there, but you still have to say what it is.
Yeah.
And something in writing, escrow will require proof from the consumer that they've agreed to this amount. That's why we have to have an invoice, that's why we need a buyer brokerage
Well,
agreement.
many
But
escrow
that-
companies won't even charge it anymore unless you
that-
have a
yeah.
copy of
But
that.
that checkbox, understand that they're saying, well, I have that checkbox checked in the
Doesn't say an amount.
But that RPA is also between the buyer and the seller. It has
Yep.
nothing to do with our commissions. By law,
It's
we're supposed to
disclosure.
disclose
Right.
that there's additional money coming our way from another source,
Yep.
and that's what that is identified to do. It doesn't say we have to say how much, it just, we have to notify all parties, and that's what that covers.
So let me add one other thing that's really important for a fair housing guideline before Janet gets it. I think, based on the consumer perspective, if I go in and I charge every single person at this table $7.95, that's consistent. But if before I meet you, I decide, you know what, Tom's a really good guy, I've known him forever,
Wears
I'm gonna
a-
charge him
Wears a
$2.95.
jacket, gets a discount.
Janet was about to pass out because I say he's a really nice guy. If I charge him
said that.
$2.95, did I just discriminate against everybody else or
Yes.
against him?
You may
Yes.
have.
But is Tom free to negotiate?
Yes.
Absolutely. So I always say keep it consistent across the board and respect everyone's ability to negotiate and be prepared for it. Because if Tom says, hey, I don't know what I'm paying this for and I don't have an answer, like all of those great ones I gave you, then I'm not doing my job to prepare for that. But it should always be the same and to protect them.
And let me just say.
Janet's
this.
before you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Jan.
you just stole
Sorry, Jan.
exactly what I was going
Oh,
to
see, she
say.
got nothing to say.
She's done.
Oh, she has something to say.
Chris was
He's
Pontificating.
pontificating. That's what it is. And he always pontificates and steals my thunder.
Gonna spit all
So,
over you.
what you do for one, you have to do for all.
Yes.
Period. And the way the world of real estate is turning the past couple of months, I would say if you don't do for all, whatever you decide to do for one for all, another reason to maybe file fair housing charges against you.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Well, I come from old school before all these
17 years.
transaction fees and everything else. And when they came about, it was something that I just took on my own that I have to pay, right? Because I came from the REO world.
Sure.
Right? I couldn't go to the bank and say, hey, bank, you're gonna pay me, $4.95.
You could, they just laugh at you.
Right, they're not gonna pay it. So those fees were something that I had to incur, but it was my cost of business. So if you're worried about trying to figure out what to say or how to say it, you don't feel comfortable saying it, you don't have to, right? You can just pay it and be done with it.
And I still think it has a tremendous value. I mean, you look at our company and what we provide, and that's the cost that we charge for the cost of doing business. And Shelley has a great program, by the way, that will cover that cost. So you're really 100%. Tell them about your
Our
program.
$1,000.
Yeah, your $1,000.
Yeah, so through the end of the year, any new contract, actually even our refinances, if you send those over, we are offering a lender credit of $1,000. So whatever the back fee is.
Will you be extending that past the end of the year? I got a client that really
Right
needs
now,
it,
no.
but probably not gonna buy till January now.
Not until June. In contract by December 31st, then
I'll
we'll go
pass
ahead
that
and
on.
extend it along. And that will offset
Yep.
appraisal and B.A.C.
Yeah.
So you just ask the seller to pay for closing costs,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yep.
Is that how you do it?
We asked, no,
No, we would. In
We
your
would.
agreement,
Yeah.
you would ask the seller to pay for additional costs.
Closing
Well,
costs.
you don't have to.
Which
It would just go as a
contribute.
credit on the
Yeah.
HUD.
So we could
$1,000
credit
To any
that
close,
way.
and
Yeah.
commission is
Okay,
closing costs.
or the other way is you could ask the
Yep.
seller to, so.
Yeah.
it works.
So the whole point is be prepared for the response of why do I charge it?
Yeah, just have the conversation beforehand. If you're gonna be charging it to the client,
Yeah.
we have to, one thing about the NAR stuff that came out with the DOJ is that we need to disclose more information. They don't want to feel that they're getting bamboozled at the closing table after you've had several landmines go off during the course of the escrow. Well, you like bamboozled?
Bamboozled.
Make it sound like it's a painful transaction.
For some people, it could be.
So just, have the conversation before.
Yeah.
If you're gonna charge it to them, charge it. Make sure they know about it and signed off on it. And if not,
Well,
okay.
and Bonnet put a thing here too.
Of course she did.
State law in Nevada provides that an agent may enter into a oral written, okay. But it says, as a member of the National Association of Realtors, we are held to a higher standard by
That's
our
right.
Code of Ethics. In the Realtor Code of Ethics, Article 9 reads as follows: Realtors, for the protection of all parties, shall assure whenever possible that all agreements related to the real estate transaction, including but not limited to listing and representation, agreements, purchase contracts, and leases are in writing in clear and understandable language expressing the specific terms and conditions.
She put all that in one post, huh?
No, it's 5 of them. Obligations and commitments.
There's
of
some
parties.
questions down below that.
Can
Keep
you
going.
see her?
It really comes down to.
She
She's
just
mad.
copied
She-
and pasted.
But it really comes down to, it's an ethical thing
Yes.
to do, to disclose
Yeah.
your fees up front and just do it.
In writing.
And if you want to be able to continue to charge them, right, then let's do it the right way.
For title
Thanks,
and
Nate.
lending fees, I mean, that switched for us as well, like 2 years ago. There's no tolerance, right? So we have, if we disclose it or we don't disclose it, we eat it on the end if it's on there at the
Yeah.
end, so.
And so that's the thing, I was in real estate long before they even charged these fees or even
17 years
came
ago.
up with
How
them.
long?
Long time. And anyway, and I never cut my commission, ever.
Because she does no
Not even for your
refunds.
kids?
Well,
the
they
sales,
were
sales
telling
price
us-
was $10,000, it wasn't a lot to cut.
They were too young to buy houses then.
And 10% cut was like 30
So when the
bucks.
company I was working for said, okay, we're gonna start charging this fee, it's a mandatory fee, and I went, what a ripoff to my clients. And I felt like I was making enough money, and I always paid it. Now, if somebody like Todd came along and I said, ooh, I don't really like him, I'm gonna charge him this fee.
This is
that-
real life, by the way. This really has happened.
That would not have been good. What you do for one, you have to do for all. So
Yeah.
I always paid it. But I was making decent money because I didn't cut my commission to 5% or 4.5% or 4 or whatever.
Can I give one last piece of advice? So when it comes to commission and negotiating commission, when I say practice, I don't mean like in front of the mirror with yourself. I mean like grab a family member, grab your spouse, grab close friends, and explain to them the value of what you provide. Because if you don't even know the value of what you provide, you'll never be able to sell it to anybody. And so literally going over it with different agents in the office is great because different personality styles, but being able to articulate what it is you're going to do to provide them with the value that they're going to pay for. Because if you can't do it, no one's going to pay it anyway, so you might as well not set yourself up for failure, right?
Yep. Know what you're gonna say before you say it. That's been my motto for
I-
a
that's-
long
that's-
time.
Since this morning,
And if not, get it on a pen. I mean, so they can read it.
nice, so,
That's
anything
it.
else?
Let me say this, I've noticed lately signing some of these commission instructions of things that we get to see as brokers, that there's an uptick in agents that are reducing the number of bananas they charge. And if there's anything that I think you should work on in your business planning for 2021 is how not to do that.
Yeah.
Because you can reduce your commission, you can reduce your income out of this business pretty quickly. Just because there's other people out there that are doing it, doesn't mean that's what you should be doing. And if you need help with that, like sit down with somebody who's charging more and figure out how they're selling it or how they're getting that extra money. But
Credit.
really want to see signature agents making as much money as they can make.
Credit shouldn't be one-sided. And so when I see that, I usually see it on one person and the other person's done nothing, but yet they're getting paid in the deal.
Yeah.
And the two agents aren't the only two people getting paid in the deal. And so, high tide raises all boats, so find some more boats. Did you get that?
I got it.
We'll have a clarification on that next week on the meeting.
Pontificate on that.
We'll talk about
Come back
boats
to you.
next time.
Yeah, Todd, we'll pontificate on it. I just want to say one more thing. Please, 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 if you plan on attending your office holiday party, RSVP, because we are ordering
Yeah.
catered food, no homemade stuff made in somebody's kitchen that might be sick. So we don't want to buy food for 50 if only 10 people are going to come. So please RSVP.
And we also have to limit the number of people, so.
Exactly.
If you do register, please show up, or if you're not gonna make it, please cancel so that we can make room for.
Send the
other
gift.
people. Send the gift. $20 gift. So, anyway, anything else? Any
Nope.
parting shots?
No?
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
Glad you finally showed
Yeah,
up.
well, it's been a rough couple
I
few
was gonna
weeks,
say,
right?
thanks for being here. Are you going to Europe next week or anything?
Alaska.
Oh. All right, well, thanks for attending, and we'll see you in the offices, or we'll see you online soon.
Yeah,
Bye.
same days.